Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to day 2 of official Eternal Masters spoilers. So as you can see from the title screen here, we have another huge money card to talk about. More on that later, but we also have 15 other additional cards to look at, and we got some other really big ones here. So over the course of the last 2 days, I think a lot of people's confidence in this product has gone way up, and because of that, guess what? Prices have gone way up. So before we get into the spoilers, just a quick public service announcement. If you're looking for this product at this point, be careful about the big marketplaces. If you start looking at, say, eBay or else Amazon or even some of the big stores out there, you're probably not going to get much of a deal. You're probably going to be spending minimally at this point $300, maybe between $300 to $325. But if you look at small stores, a lot of times comic book stores that aren't just dedicated to gaming, you might be able to still find this product at retail price. There are stores that are going to try to honor that suggested retail price out there. Now, usually they are smaller businesses. You're going to have to do a little bit of legwork, but check out the stores in your area, as well as just going online, doing some Google searches, try to find some small stores that have websites. You can probably still find a deal. It's just going to take a little bit of work at this point. Also, too, once the product comes out and everybody tries to flip them at the same time, you might be able to get at least a slight knockoff of whatever the going price is at that point as well. But at this time of filming, right now prices are just going through the roof right now for sealed product of this set. So having said that, let's get into the actual spoilers now. I mentioned this yesterday, but this isn't going to be a normal spoiler video where we assess how good the cards are, because they're all good. So we're just going to go through each card. I'll give you a little bit of brief history, and basically this is more of a compilation of what's been spoiled over the last 24 hours or so, and then we'll be back and do it again tomorrow. So let's get started. First, we have Balance, and Balance is a card that was originally printed in the original set, Alpha Beta Unlimited. It also survived into Revised. It even survived into 4th edition. This is another one of those cards that Wizards didn't quite realize that this was the problem with some decks for a while, but this card is crazy broken, and because of that, it's a card that's banned in Commander even at this point. Some mentor decks will play it, stuff like that. But for the most part, I think this is a cube card. I think this is where that really shines more than anything. Now, having said that, a little more history. If you wanted to get this thing in foil, there was a couple opportunities. One of which was a Judge's promo, and the other one was a From the Vault. This art that we're looking at on this version of the card is actually from the Judge's promo, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. So I think they did a good job choosing which art to put on it. And here it is, another opportunity now, hopefully, to get it in foil. This is a mythic, and I know some people probably have some mixed feelings about that, because if you want a cheap copy of Balance, you can get a revised or 4th edition copy for $1 or $2 basically. So that doesn't feel great. However, if you do want a black bordered or a foil version, it's going to cost you a little more money. So if you look at it that way, it's probably not a bad mythic, and it's extremely powerful. Next, we have Untitled Tutor, and this was originally printed in Mirage. Saw a reprint in 6th edition, and at both of those sets, it was uncommon. It's getting the upgrade now to rare, but of course, back in those days, I don't think there was a grasp of how powerful, I guess, tutors are, and this is a tutor, and it's very powerful. I do like the original art quite a bit, and I'm kind of sad to see that go. I like this art though, it's pretty cool, but I think I like the original a little bit better. But still, this is at the rare slot, not mythic, so hooray for that. That's awesome, and it's a great card, sees a lot of play in many Eternal formats. Control Magic. Here's another rare, so at least it's not mythic, but here's another card that if you don't care what kind of Control Magic you can get it pretty cheap. You can actually get this for under $1. It was in a dual deck not that long ago, a few years back, so you can find copies of this. However, again, if you want a black border version, you want something that isn't foil, it's nice, well, you got a shot at it now. And this is new art for this card, and I actually like it a lot. I think they've done a really good job. This is maybe one of my favorite new pieces of art that I've seen, so I think that's pretty cool. And again, it is at rare. They didn't put it at mythic, so that's good. Next, we have Diminishing Returns. This was from Alliances. It got reprinted in 6th edition, and it's kind of supposed to be the fixed time twister, but it's still extremely powerful. So even though you have to mill yourself a little bit when you use it and exile those cards, at the same time, it's still very strong because you're still getting a whole new hand. You're able to respond to it. Costs 1 more blue than Time Twister, but still very strong. So over the years, this has seen play in formats, and it's not one of those cards that is super spendy or anything. It did get new art. I was never a big fan of the original art. However, I'm also not a huge fan of this art. I think it looks a little too computer generated and a little too kind of fluorescent-y, neon-y for me. But I don't know. It's fine. It's actually a very good card, and it'll be fun to kind of play around with this. Anime Dead, and this actually is going to combo very well with another card we're going to see soon in the list. But Anime Dead, I kind of expected this one. It's got an interesting history. Originally printed in Alpha Beta Unlimited, it survived into Revised. It was in 4th edition, and it was even in 5th edition. But the problem with this card, I mean, aside the fact it's extremely powerful for 2 mana, but it's also a rules nightmare, as you can see by the wall of text that is on this card. So it did see a foil printing in a premium deck series called Graveborn. Up until now, that was the only way to get it in foil. Now you have a chance to get this in foil, and this is new art as well. And I was not a huge fan of the Graveborn art, and you're probably familiar with it if you ever played Cube on Magic Online. That's the art they use. I really liked the old art for Anime Dead quite a bit, but I like this a lot better than the Graveborn art, so I'm pretty happy with that. Really cool to see this in Limited too. I think it will make for a lot of fun games. Entomb. Now here's a card that snuck up on me as far as value goes. This is another card that was in the Graveborn premium deck in foil. So I don't know, that was a number of years ago now, and I haven't really paid close attention to this card and the value of it probably since that deck came out. And yeah, this is a little bit spendy. It's going to cost you a little money to get some Entomb. So this is an awesome reprint. This was a good one to pull out. New art, and it's beautiful. Another piece of art I really love on the new cards. And don't discount the new art too quickly too, because look at the original Modern Masters. There's some cards that saw some new art versions in that set and then were never reprinted again, and those can be a little spendy too. A lot of folks prefer certain pieces of art and may want to get that particular card. This is one, if I was going to play Entomb in a constructed deck, for example, I'd probably want this one just because it looks incredible. But very good inclusion, and it is at the rare slot. Vampiric Tutor. So here's another mythic. This one was spoiled from a Japanese language spoiler. Again, new art, and it looks really good. This card's super powerful, and another card that got kind of expensive. Originally printed in Visions, got a reprint in 6th edition as well, but even if you want the white border 6th edition kind of plain version of the card, it's still going to run you like $30. So yeah, it's time for a reprint of this. I think it's just fine as a mythic because it does have value. It's extremely powerful and does see play in a lot of different places. Next we have World Gorger Dragon. This is a mythic. A lot of people are calling this the Comet Storm of the set, and simply it's a very, very powerful card, don't get me wrong, but the problem is value-wise, you can get copies of this pretty cheap, under $1 cheap usually, so that's what's a little painful about that. You open a pack that you spent $10, $15 for, you get a mythic, and this is your mythic. Still a very good card, and it combos extremely well with Anime Dead, which is also in the set. If you've never seen that deck in action, check out a deck list of that online. It can be pretty crazy, but at the same time, just doesn't hold monetary value very well. So it does see play here and there, but it's become a little more fringe than in past years. But other than that, not too much more I can say about it. It's still very powerful, will be very good in Limited. Timberwatch Elf. This came from Legions, and what's interesting about this card is it does see Commander play, but it sees a lot of Pauper play. This is like a love letter to Pauper. Now notice it has been upgraded to an uncommon in this set, but in its original printing it was a common, so this is a pretty big Pauper card for the Elf deck out there, which is pretty awesome. Next we have Wirewood Symbiote, and this is a card that was originally printed in Scourge. It was an uncommon there, it's an uncommon here. It does see a little bit of play in Legacy Elf decks, so there's definitely a use for this, and as you can see there appears to be a elf-centric thing going on, at least in green, probably green-black, as you'll see by another card we look at in just a few moments. Next we have Dack Fayden, and I was almost certain this card would make the set, so I'm glad to see it. This has had a huge impact on Vintage since it was originally printed a couple years ago in Conspiracy. Some folks thought maybe it would be reprinted in Conspiracy 2, but I kind of felt like they're going to do some different things in Conspiracy 2. Totally makes sense for it to be here, considering it is such a big Vintage card. It sees a little legacy play as well, among other Eternal formats, honestly. And it's just an easy way to steal artifacts, especially like boxes and so on and so forth that you find in Vintage. But it also gives you a card draw as well as discard outlets. It's amazing. It just kind of does everything you want it to do in those type of formats. So this card's awesome, and it is a little pricey if you want to get a Conspiracy version, or especially if you want to get a foil version, you're paying a little bit. So it's cool that it's back. Shaman of the Pack. Now, this one surprised me a little bit, and mainly just because this is a card from Magic Origins. Wow, there's a Magic Origins card in my Eternal Masters. What's happening here? So, but it totally makes sense. It does see play in Legacy Elf builds, so there you go. It's here, and it's very strong. It's at the uncommon slot. I mean, obviously, it's not worth a whole lot. It was just printed a few months back, but here it is. I thought it was kind of cool that they included it for the limited game. Sensei's Divining Top. So another card I'm very, very happy to see reprinted, and it's at the rare slot. Now, this card originally from Kamigawa, and then it did get a reprint in From the Vault, so there was another opportunity to get a foil version of that. Both of those original versions use the same art, so this is new art. I'm not a huge fan of it. Again, it looks a little too, I don't know, glossy, computer generated for me. I kind of like the old art on Sensei's Divining Top, so it is what it is, though. We're getting more copies of it, so I'll be happy for that. And incredibly powerful if you've never played with this card. It looks simple, but those simple effects just have a lot of control over the game and around deck manipulation, so this card's awesome. All right, here's the big money card of the day. Yesterday we got Mana Crypt. Today we're getting Karakas, and this was originally printed in Legends. It did get a Judges promo and foil at one point. The art you see here is actually from the Judges promo. This card, very powerful. In fact, powerful enough to be banned in Commander due to the fact that it interacts with legendary creatures the way it does. But this sees some legacy play, especially in decks like Death and Taxes. And Death and Taxes is one of the decks that's a little more affordable, and maybe some folks might be able to break into Legacy with a deck like that. And Karakas was one of the bigger barriers to playing Death and Taxes. So getting more copies of this out there is not a bad thing. Now, it is a mythic, so there's not going to be tons of copies out there, unfortunately, but at least hopefully enough to maybe allow some people to try to put together that deck. I think that would be great. But great include. I really thought for sure we'd see this, and we did. Wizards came through again. Next we have Maze of Ith, originally printed in the dark. There was also a Judges promo, and then finally a From the Vault version of this card. Now, this is the art from the Vault, and I always like this art, so I think that's a great inclusion. This is at rare, not at mythic, and a few years back this card actually was up around $50-$60. It's come down a little bit nowadays. It's like a $20-$30 card, so I think it's fair that this is at the rare slot, and it's a fantastic cube card. You see this in a lot of cubes. It makes its way around, definitely sees play. I think it would be a fantastic limited card too. I think it'd be kind of fun to be able to include this in your limited deck when you're lucky enough to pick one of these up in the draft. Finally, the last card of the day is Mishra's Factory. Now, this is at the uncommon slot, and this is a relatively easy pickup if you're trying to pick up a previous version of this card. It was in a dual deck actually not that long ago. So having said that, you get the art from the dual deck. You do get a chance to get this style art in foil, which is pretty cool. And it's a fantastic card. I mean, it's a uncommon, so it's not throwing off the value of your pack too much. And the fact that this has played such a huge role in Legacy in the past works very well in the standstill style decks in Legacy, but also works very well in lands decks, which do have a Legacy version as well as a Vintage version. So this is just kind of the ultimate control card. Been around forever. Originally printed in Antiquities. So it's actually cool to see this included in the set for sure. So having said that, those are the spoilers for today. We'll be back every day that we have spoilers with another video like this. And I think Friday we'll probably get the full sets. I guess we'll see what Wizards does. If that's the case, then we'll begin our full set review on Friday. If not, we'll start a full set review whenever we get the full set spoiled. So until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a good day.